Good morning, beautiful people. How's it going? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, what is up? How are we feeling? It's the morning after the aftermath of preseason. Let's talk about everything that we got to kind of get into. Obviously, we had a game, Niners lost 17 nothing. I don't know how you guys are feeling. I woke up and I'm like, you know what? I'm just glad it's over with preseason and now we can focus on the regular season. That's what really matters. What's up, everybody? Sad Niners fan says the Trey hate is strong this morning. It really is. I don't understand. It was a preseason game and everybody is just up at arms. People are mad. They're overanalyzing. Like, people are very grumpy. They have their grumpy pants on. I don't think they had their coffee yet. It's early. What is it, 9 in the morning still over here on the west coast? It's afternoon in the East Coast, right? I think people didn't have enough coffee. But you know what? We have week one to worry about coming up in a few weeks. That's where my head's really at. I'm excited for that, really. I don't, again, preseason's preseason, and it's done with. We got to see a little bit of everything. We got to see the youngsters. We got to see, the veterans. We got to see the players that maybe might not make the roster, try to compete for a spot. We got to see some of the starters. So I'm happy that football's back. That's the biggest takeaway. Just happy football's back, right? So we're gonna talk about some of the things that I kept an eye on last night that maybe we didn't touch upon last night, or maybe we're gonna review some of these things. And after that, we'll open up some questions, and I got a couple other things to go into because I want to talk about the actual season that's coming up. We got roster cuts coming up. We'll talk about some people that may not or may be at jeopardy to make this team. So let's see. Let's get to some of these people in here. What's up, Drug Polish? Niner Gang. Snead has butterfingers. Oh man, we talked about that last night. He basically cost himself a roster spot, right? That ball just dropped right out of his hands. It was unfortunate for him. Sad Niner fan says, I'm legit concerned about the interior O-line. The run game was stagnant. Yeah, so you know what? That's a good place to start. Let's talk. Let me pin this comment. So run game was very bad last night, and I think a lot of it had to do with the O-line, right? And it wasn't just the O-line not doing well against the pass protection. They were just struggling in general. They couldn't create any lanes. They couldn't get anything open for the running backs. The running backs had very, very few holes to get through. I think Richard. I think. Let me take a look at some of these. I know I wrote the stats right here. We go. So Jordan Mason had 4 attempts for 7 yards. There's a few that were called back. A lot of penalties. And then Trey Sermon had 8 rushes for 20 yards. Lanes just didn't open up. TDP had -3 yards on 4 carries. The lanes were just not there. They were not blocking well. It looked bad. In terms of pass protection, Burford had 3 pressures allowed. Skule had 2 pressures allowed. Jalen Moore had 2 pressures allowed. Colton McKivitz had a pressure allowed. Banks and Jason Pope both had 1 pressure allowed. It wasn't good. They were letting people in. They couldn't create lanes. The only guy that had no pressures allowed was Jake Brendel. Jake Brendel has been the best offensive lineman on this team during the preseason. I know he hasn't played much, but his preseason pass blocking grade via PFF is 82.9. That is by far the best on the team. Aaron Banks was a 28.9 and Spencer Burford a 32.3. So they've shown flashes, Banks and Burford, but they've been struggling at times. They're young. They're going to go through their ups and downs. But this whole line was the biggest issue. And that's what's kind of concerning. You got to realize, you didn't have McGlinchey in there. You didn't have Trent Williams. Those are your big dogs. Trent Williams is going to open up lanes. He's going to make things so much different. But can one man change the whole entire O-line? Can one man change the whole O-line? It's tough. That's going to put a lot of pressure on Trent Williams, and I feel bad for the guy. He's going to have a lot of pressure on his shoulders with these guys. They lost Lakin. They lost Alex Mack. That is tough. It's not like you're just going to be able to replace him easily. I think Burford can be solid. I think Banks might have a chance to be a pretty good guy. Jake Brendel looks like he might be okay, but there's a lot of pressure. You can't just say Brendel's going to come right in and replace Alex Mack like right away. Oh yeah, he's no problem. He's going to be able to. Alex Mack's a Hall of Fame player. That's tough to replace, you know. So I don't know. It is definitely something to keep an eye on. O-line. If we can't get pass protection, it's gonna be ugly, man. That offensive line was just sloppy. They didn't look like they had discipline last night. They had 104 yards on 11 penalties. 104 yards of penalties. 11 penalties. It was nasty. Oh, the whole team in general, but I mean the O-line, man. They were causing, they were holding false starts. It's bad. This team was not disciplined last night. It was not disciplined at all. Niner Gang says, on my way to work watching your show. Hope you have a good day, boy. Hit that like button. Yo, what's up, Niner Gang? Appreciate you. Hit that like button. Drive safe. I hope you have a good day at work and have a blessed day. Sad Niner fan says, I wish Trey was able to play more. He needs all the reps he can get. I wish he could too. And that's what Kyle Shanahan said. He says he really wanted to make sure Trey Lance got more time out there, but he says he couldn't. Let me translate for you. He basically says, yeah, this O-line was terrible. I don't want to kill Trey Lance. If he would have left him out there, he would have got thrown into the wolves and he probably got murdered in a preseason game. O-line was not doing their job. Every single play, somebody in the backfield. The first play of the game, that was a pass. Colton McClivitz, he just got bullied off the line. Defender in the back already. There was a play where Trey throws the ball and his hand gets hit. The defender came in so quick, man. Nobody was blocking for him. It was tough to see. And, I love Trey Lance, and it's unfortunate because now everybody's hating on Trey, and they're saying he's not ready, and he's too young. He's too raw. He needs the reps. Jimmy needs to play. Jimmy's better. Like, honestly, it wasn't even on Trey, man. Like, yeah, okay, he could do things a little bit better. He's going to learn. There's a few plays where he dropped back and he maybe didn't make the right read, or he maybe didn't step into the pocket a little bit. But those are things he can work and clean up. But when you're under pressure, man, you get a little stressed. You got to, make rash decisions, and maybe your decision making isn't what it needs to be because you're thinking pressure's coming. Who's going to hit me? Who's going to hit me? And that was the issue. He was every time he dropped back, there was somebody in the backfield like waiting to get him, and it was very evident. He just was under duress all game. He didn't have time to do anything. So I feel bad because Trey Lance is getting a lot of hate, a lot of criticism on a preseason game. It's preseason, man. Preseason. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really matter. Overall, I don't think Trey had a horrible preseason. The first game, what everybody was talking about, how, oh my God, Trey let the deep pass. Oh, this is going to take off the offense. He's going to change the whole dynamic. Oh, it's going to be a beautiful season. Oh, Trey Lance. Oh, like this was literally 2 weeks ago. Everybody was so hyped up. They were so excited. He throws that pass to Danny Gray, and it was like, oh my God. And then last night, he didn't have the performance we all wanted. He didn't have a touchdown. He didn't score any points. And so then people are like, oh, well, he's terrible. So I mean, in a matter of a few weeks, people change their mind, and you got to have context with everything. So I wrote down the stats. Trey Lance last night was 7 for 11 for 44 yards. He didn't have a touchdown. He didn't have an interception. And he was a 65% completion percentage if you do the mathematics. 7 for 11, 44 yards. In 2 preseason games, he was 11 for 16, 68% passing, for 142 yards, a touchdown, passer rating of 115. Passer rating of 115, not bad. A touchdown, 142 yards, 11 for 16. In 2 preseason games. He played what? Maybe two quarters max, if you add it all together, maybe. All right? Behind that O-line, that's pretty good. Behind that O-line, the guys that were blocking for him, you're 11 for 16, 142 yards, and a touchdown with a passer rating of 115. Behind that O-line. It's actually not bad. So context matters, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody's going to dog him for preseason games. It's not like he had a whole game to play and bounce back after, a slow start. In a game, you sometimes build a rhythm. Sometimes people need those few starts or few reps and few drives. You kind of need to get in a rhythm. You got to get warmed up. You can't just go out there expect to be like, all right, let's go out and dominate right from the start. Sometimes some players need a little bit of seasoning. And I think that's what Trey Lance is showing us is, remember last year in Houston, he did start a little slow. And then second half, he ripped that pass to Debo and it was over. It just took him a little bit of time. And before that touchdown pass to Debo last year against Houston, if you remember that 2-minute drive to end the first half, he was moving the chain. He was moving it. He was getting passes. Him and Brandon Ayuk, boom, boom, boom. And then second half came, you could tell he was mentally there, and he just dotted it up to Debo, and you could tell he was getting his confidence there. So some players just need a little bit more time in a game. If he would have probably played through that game, who knows what would have happened. And again, he didn't have Trent Williams out there. The defense was not at full, force, so they probably would have put him in better field position too. So a lot of factors. There's a lot of things you got to kind of look into in a game like this, and you got to use context. People are just going to throw out the words, "Oh, he's a sucks, he's a bust." They don't look at the context, man. And you got to listen. This is another note I wrote that I really want to stress. Kyle wasn't going to empty the bag in preseason. He's not going to let everybody know his bag of tricks. He's not going to throw out there and throw all his beautiful plays. Kyle Shanahan is a beautiful offensive mind. You think he's going to go out there and show all his tricks? You think the magician's going to show all his magic tricks on a preseason game? He's not, man. He's not. He's not going to show all his tricks, man. He kept it basic, vanilla. He kept it pretty straightforward. He's not going to throw all these tricks. If you throw something very nice out there, all these coaches that watches the game, they're going to, oh, wow, look at what Kyle Shanahan's. They're going to copy him, and they're going to have film to study against him. They're not going to tip their hand. When Kyle wants to empty the bag out, he's going to empty the bag out, but not in a preseason game against the Houston Texans. Stop it. And he did let Trey experiment a little bit. There was a play where he takes the deep shot to Debo. It was early in the game. It just didn't connect. They got to get their chemistry down. And we've talked about this. Debo and Trey Lance need to get their chemistry better. And honestly, I think that was a PI. But it's preseason. You're not going to call all these penalties. Whatever. Regular season, they better call that shit because it's kind of ridiculous if they don't. But whatever. It's preseason game. I'm not going to get mad about not getting a PI. But at the end of the day, you still got to talk about it, right? But he did take a deep shot, and he just needs to get a little bit better chemistry with Deebo Samuel. And then there was a throw on the run. Like, those are things I saw, and I was like, oh, I'm excited about this. Like, he kind of ran to the side. He flushed out the pocket, throws a dart. He missed it. Timing was off. Let him fix that stuff. I'm not worried about it. Not worried about it. Drunk Polish says, he was already running because the O-line, but because the bad O-line play. Yeah, man, he was having to be flushed out that pocket, and it changes it up. The game changes when you have pressure in your face. When you got big-ass 300-pound guys running at your face, you're going to be a little stressed out. Oh, man. Drew C says the O-line was red flags last night. That and penalties. Yeah, penalties were every single time a nice little play was about to happen or there was some type of momentum and you thought, okay, they're going to get things rolling. They got called back. Penalty. They dialed the plays back. And it was ugly. So it was unfortunate to see such poor, sloppy O-line play. That they got 2 weeks to clean it up. Again, Trent Williams will be back. I hope Mike McGlinchey's back, but I'm not going to sit here and count on it. I'm not going to count on Mike McGlinchey coming back to this team anytime soon. And that is a little worrisome because I don't know if I really trust Colton McKivitz taking in for Mike McGlinchey. But if he is, the rest of those tackles are there. Jordan Mills, he has not looked good, unfortunately. Jalen Moore, he came back off a lower leg injury, and he was horrible last night. God. He was bad last night. I mean, maybe he's rusty because of an injury. Whatever the case is, it just didn't look good. He did not look good, my guy. Shit, man. Mike McGlinchey. And this is the thing. Okay, let's say Mike McGlinchey does come back, right? Mike McGlinchey's back. He's back in the starting lineup. How effective is he going to be? He's playing with a torn quad that he rehabbed from, and now he's having knee issues. He's had knee issues his whole career. How effective can he be? Can he run side to side? Is he going to be able to hold his blocks? Is Mike McGlinchey going to get pulled around like a rag doll? I don't know. But I am very concerned about this right tackle spot. They should have addressed this in the draft. I was talking to someone last night. I really think they should address this in the draft. And I know Kittle and I know Juice are going to be there to block, and I know they're going to be amazing because they always help out. They're like a sixth and seventh offensive lineman. It's like a cheat code. Because not everybody has these guys like Kittle and Juice. And Shanahan's able to scheme these guys into the offensive line. But it takes a toll on those guys. Kittle gets broken down. Juice gets broken down. They take a toll on their bodies. And one thing with Kittle, he trips over his feet a lot. He's putting a lot of pressure on him. He does. He needs, sometimes his balance is off. He's doing so much. And we don't get to let Kittle go out there and be the receiver that we want. You know what I mean? Like, Kittle doesn't get to focus on being the receiver that we really want him to be. He has to block a lot, and it does suck, but it does help our run game. Like, it's good and it's bad. Because I see him out there, I'm like, man, he's such a good blocker. He helps out so much. It takes a little pressure off this O-line. But sometimes I'm like, I just want Kittle out there catching big passes because we know what he can do after the catch. He's so amazing. But, if you take him off the O-line, and you're going to get rushed. If you put him out in the, if you take him off that O-line and let him focus on catching, you're going to get a lot of pressure. But then if you don't use him as a pass catcher, you're not using one of your best targets. So it's a tough one. And Kyle Juszczyk, too. You take him out of that O-line blocking, your run game doesn't work as well. So it's not as effective. It's tough. It's a balance, It's tough. Let's see. Drew says, I don't think McGlinchey will be healthy, so we will have pretty much 4 first-year starters on the line. Wish they would have invested more veterans to it. Yeah, I agree, and that's something I was talking about too. Is I wish they would have put a little bit more emphasis on this O-line. Like, I know they drafted O-linemen, and I'm happy they got Spencer Burford. I like the guy, Nick Zakelj, but Nick Zakelj looks like he's going to be a project, a practice squad guy. He's not going to help immediately. There's like stars they could have drafted over the last 2 years, like actual legit linemen, like Tristan Wirfs. They could have got him a couple years back, like legit star linemen. They could have added to this team several years in a row, and then they whiffed out on it. And then a guy like, last year they could have got there's a center, I'm blanking on his name, out of Oklahoma. He's pretty damn good. I think he plays for the Chiefs this year. I can't think of his name. He was a rookie last year. In any case, he was a phenomenal rookie last year, and they passed up on him. They went Aaron Banks in the second round, kind of a reach. You could have waited an extra round and got, a better guy, at center, because you knew center was going to be an issue. You signed Alex Mack last year, which was great, but it was a 2 to 3 year contract, and you knew that there was a possibility he was going to retire because of his age. He's played in the league forever. So I would have actually looked into the draft and said, okay, let's get a center just for insurance policy. Creed Humphrey, I think is the guy. Creed Humphrey, I think is the guy I'm thinking of. Yeah, Creed Humphrey. You guys nailed it. 49ers Raj. Yeah, you guys said it right before I saw the comment. So appreciate you. Yeah, it's Creed Humphrey. They could have got him. He's a solid player. They could have added him to this team, So as much as we love their late round draft picks, I think they nail it. They kill it. Like, Adam Peters is a saint, and they do a great job of draft scouting and talent evaluation and getting these late round guys, and they develop players really good. I think they do a phenomenal job, But I feel sometimes on the earlier rounds, they tend to miss. Dante Pettis. I don't know. The jury's still out on Aaron Banks, Solomon Thomas. Trey Sermon right now doesn't look too hot. We'll get more on him in a minute. We'll talk about him soon. And then you have, other guys in the first few rounds. Ambry Thomas, 3rd round pick, right? It's kind of tough. Although they did hit with Fred Warner, 3rd round pick. But it feels like a lot more of their earlier picks don't hit as much as their later round picks for whatever reason. Deebo Samuel, 2nd round pick, phenomenal player. Obviously Nick Bosa is a smash, Hulk smash of a draft pick. Reuben Foster, 1st round pick. They traded up for him. So it's a mixed bag. I feel like earlier round talent is not as good as their late round talent. Just move all their draft picks to the 5th round, Let's see what Niner Gang has to say. I feel like Shanny was pissed. He should have been more supportive of his team. And QB, I don't know. I mean, yeah, he was pissed. Do you see that video of him just like, he was like, it was like a meme now. Fucking pissed. Yeah, Shanahan was mad. I don't think he was very too happy last night. But again, I don't know what his expectations were in a preseason game. You want these guys to go out and just get reps. You just want these guys to go out and compete. You just want to like see who's going to make the roster. So it's kind of tough to evaluate a game like this because you're just trying to see who's making the roster. You're not really going to take a lot of this stuff seriously. You need film to review, right? I think Shanahan needs to sit down and watch this film and go over these things with these players like Trey. He's going to sit down with Trey, do some film study, whoever the receivers and everything like that, and the running backs, the O linemen. But I mean, I feel like it was just kind of the wind was knocked out of everybody's sails because there was a lot of excitement for this game. I think everybody was hyped up, but then you realize not everybody played on the starters. But yeah, he did seem a little irritated last night because throughout the preseason before this game, he seemed very upbeat, really happy, really, really emotionally supportive of everybody. But when you're losing, it's a little, you wear your emotions on your sleeve. I'm sure everybody out there today listening here, last night after the game, well, we know the emotions were tough. He saw the comments. You get a little pissed off. You lose the game, you don't feel too great. So, I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. So, I mean, yeah, I was a little pissed off. I'm sure we all were pissed off. So, it's hard for him to be happy when your team is getting dog walked. But at the same time, he definitely seemed a little bit irritated last night. I do agree about that. What's up? Hey, Peter Parker. Let's talk about, let's see some more comments here. Our late round drafting, they find gems, but not enough people blame the team for drafting these guys. Instead, they want to get pissed at Sermon. Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the thing. Like, let's talk about Trey Sermon, shall we? Because this is a big topic. We got to talk. Everybody wants to talk about Trey Sermon. Again, last night he had 8 rushes for 20 yards. It wasn't the most impressive performance. John Lynch talked about him, and he says he raved. He says, "Look, Trey Sermon was great in the preseason, or not in the preseason, in training camp. He was one of the best players, and he was. I saw Trey Sermon with my own eyes. He looked like he was in such good shape this offseason. You could tell he looked focused. He came into training camp, and he was tearing it up. What happened? I don't know. He's not the same on the field. And John Lynch said, he goes, he hasn't been producing. I'm not going to lie to you. He hasn't been producing on the field during preseason. They spent a 3rd-round pick on the guy. They're excited about the guy. They drafted him. But you got to look into him a little bit more. He was a backup running back in Ohio State and in Oklahoma. Like, he was a backup running back. So they did take a 3rd-round pick on a backup running back. Might have been a little bit of a gamble because I think Kyle thought they could turn this guy into something special with Trey Lance. Because the way that Trey Sermon ran in college was out of the shotgun. They lined him out wide, and he would take his snaps from there. Trey Lance is a mobile type quarterback, and Trey Sermon played with mobile quarterbacks in college. So I think that they thought he would have fit because of that mobile type ability of Trey Lance. And I feel like that's kind of where they thought. And they thought, oh, okay, maybe people are sleeping on this guy. We can take him and really do something with him in our scheme. It just hasn't panned out yet. He has had injuries, the ankle issue this year, nagging little injuries. And then again, mentally, I think it's mental frustration. But maybe it was a mistake on their part of drafting this guy because maybe he doesn't fit the scheme. Maybe he just doesn't fit the system. There's players they've drafted that just don't fit, or they just don't step up and be what they need to be for Kyle Shanahan's offensive system. We've seen it with Dante Pettis. Rookie season, he flashed some talent. Route running was looking good. I was like, okay, this guy could be something special with Kyle Shanahan. Go in there, work out, put some muscle on you second year. Second year, a lot of expectations, and he kind of folded, right? He didn't have that dog in him, right? And he left the team. They cut him. And now he's a career journeyman. He looks like he went to the Giants, and now he's on the Bears. We get to play Dante Pettis in a few weeks, unless he doesn't make the roster. I hope he does. I want to see Dante Pettis again. Take a little jersey swap with Debo, But what I'm saying is sometimes they just don't hit on the early picks, and that was basically the whole point I was making earlier. And it's okay. It's okay. I don't know if Trey Sermon's going to be here long term, but I don't think he's getting cut this week. They're not cutting him this week. There's absolutely no reason. They can still trade him. And again, you have to realize they kept Jalen Hurd for a long time. They didn't cut him when they could have had the chance to cut him. They kept this man and gave him chance after chance because they saw the talent. They saw the potential. Jerick McKinnon was on this. They gave Jerick McKinnon so many chances. I mean, this man tore his knee 70 times probably, and they kept him around. Then he threw this to the team. when he left. He didn't like the team. Jerick McKinnon, he was given a lot of chance. Jimmy Garoppolo has been given every chance in the book. He's still on the roster. So I don't think Trey Sermon goes anywhere. I know he's been pretty pathetic, I guess is the word, and then nobody's really excited of what they've seen out of him. I know he's looked a little slow compared to the other running backs, but I don't think they cut him. It's a thing that the team likes to give these guys chances to really prove themselves, and again, they can at least get some type of value out of him. They're going to trade him. If anything, they can trade him. But that does make the running back situation tough on who they pick, who they drop, who they cut. Again, there's going to be some feelings hurt this week, and you got to prepare yourself because this is going to be one of the most eventful cut days of all time this Tuesday. I think it's going to be the most challenging cut that this team has had under the Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch era, and I've said that several times. But it's a testament to the talent they have brought. Like, yeah, okay, maybe they don't draft well early, but they do have a wealth of talent. So many guys, but we don't want to get cut. You know what I mean? We don't want to get them. We don't want to lose these players, but that's the business. Unfortunately, it is a business. So let's get to some of these comments. What's up, everybody? How are we doing? A little morning show. We're at 26 minutes into it. I hope everybody's having a good day, a good morning. Hope you got your coffee. If you haven't, go get some coffee because there's some upset people out in the world today, especially Niner fans. So make sure you have your coffee to deal with some people. But let's get to some comments. How's everybody going? 49er Ben says, Trey getting cut. He dances too much at the line. He does dance like it's a disco fever party, but I don't think he gets cut. I just don't see it. Drew C., the way Lynch dropped that Ward news was way too casual. Hope history doesn't repeat itself with injuries plaguing this team. You know what? I talked about that yesterday, and I was shook. I was literally shook, Drew, when okay, so they're on a live broadcast, right? And he's talking about the team, and they're asking him questions like they normally would, and it was just a normal broadcast. You're watching, and he dropped like a bombshell. To me, that was like massive news. The fact that you're captain of the defense, one of your leaders on the team, 9-year vet, perennial, Niner on this team, like a guy that's been here through it all. You just sit there and you casually say, oh, yeah, he's going to miss the first 4 weeks most likely. He's going on short-term IR. And then he moves on to the next topic and he just keeps talking. I was like, excuse me, sir, can you rewind that a little bit? I'm out there sitting there. I had to rewind the TV. Like, did I just hear what I heard? I was like, oh, my God. Pulled up the Jimmy Ward graphic. I'm sitting there making an edit. I'm like, do I have breaking news to drop on this? I couldn't believe it. I hope the history doesn't repeat itself. You're right, Drew. Because these injuries are scary. They're very scary. And I don't want to have any more of these issues because soft tissue injuries, these hamstring strains, they add up. They become nasty. They linger. They really mess you up, man. And these hamstring issues can become very serious. They can become something more. You can tear a ligament down the line. I hope not. I hope I don't want to put any bad juju, but it's just something that is inevitable. It's common sense. If you know the medical system and the medical or not the medical system, if you know the human body and anatomy and how the medical, field works with injuries, it's tough. You get one little injury and it can linger and it could turn into something bigger. Remember Debo a couple years ago? He broke his foot and he just wasn't the same that year. We've had other players with hamstring injuries and they linger through the season and they're not the same player. They play a little tentative, and they play a little cautious and it just limits what they can do running wise, jumping wise. I will say it is good that we have 2 weeks before week 1. So Jimmy Ward gets an extra 2 weeks to kind of recover. So you get those 2 weeks plus the 4. So he gets about 6 weeks from now to kind of recover. 6 weeks is probably a better time frame for a hamstring injury to recover for a guy, So it is a little bit of a silver lining. We get these 2 weeks before the season starts, but it's not, I don't like it. It's not ideal. The safety position is definitely now a question mark. I did think we needed a safety this offseason in the draft, and now looking back on it, I guess I was right. I think we did. And it wasn't because I didn't believe in Hufanga or Jimmy Ward. I just wanted depth because if anything were to happen, I wanted some good depth, and now something happened. We could have got Nick Cross, We could have got Nick Cross. Although I like TDP, the draft pick was, a little questionable at the time. I like TDP. I think he's going to be solid with this team, but I think they put TDP on the team to put pressure on Trey Sermon because they weren't sure themselves if Trey Sermon was the guy that they wanted on this team. And after all, so they took TDP to put pressure on Trey Sermon, and for the fact they needed depth because last year every single running back was injured and they were in the waiver wire every single week trying to cook up some running back to add to this team. It was crazy. They had so many running backs last year, so they were like, okay, we'll draft TDP. They could have had Nick Cross, who right now looks like he might be one of the best rookie players in the NFL this year on the Colts. He's balling right now. Although I know it's preseason, but Nick Cross was a guy I was like, ooh, we should get this guy. Now we need safety depth. George Odom, I think he's okay. I don't think he's a premier starter. That's why he's always been a special teams guy. He's a great special teamer, and that's his role. And that's what he's good with. It's okay. He's a special teamer. He's good at that. That's his role. And that's okay. That's what he's good at. And then you got Tarvarius Moore, who I know he made the interception last night. Very athletic play. He's been up and down. He just doesn't look like he's going to be a elite starter. I don't know. The Achilles injury really hurt him. He's not as explosive as he was. He has some athleticism still, but it's tough, man. He's coming off a major injury. Will he be as explosive? Will he be as effective? Tarvarius Moore is not Jimmy Ward. Jimmy Ward knows his defense. He communicates well. He's good in coverage. He's a great tackler. George Odom has missed so many tackles. Tarvarius Moore has missed so many tackles. These guys are just not Jimmy Ward. So if Jimmy Ward misses more than 4 games, it's going to be tough, man. I think they should have addressed the safety issue. That's what I think. They could have added a safety over a running back. Because, you got Jordan Mason undrafted. Did you really need TDP? Like, looking back at it, again, hindsight's 2020. But as we look back at it, they got Jordan Mason undrafted. You could have got a safety instead of TDP, and then you still had Jordan Mason, who's a fucking dog. You see where I'm coming? That's just what I'm saying is sometimes talent evaluation early for these guys is tough because when they go into the late rounds, they get some nasty, amazing players. But early, it's like they reach on certain players. So it's going back to what I was talking about earlier is this talent evaluation. So it's tough. Nia says, what'd you miss? You missed a lot. 30 minutes in and you just dropped in. It's okay. Better late than never. Appreciate you anyways. Oh, man. What are your thoughts on Castro Fields? I talked about him a little. He did have a nice PBU. He's a guy. He just needs development. Castro Fields is a project. He's shown some good moments. He's shown some slow moments. He just looks like he doesn't turn his hips and get his head back around. He doesn't always turn his head, and he doesn't get the hips moving. And that's what you need as a cornerback. You need to be able to look, turn, be fluid in the hips. He's still very young. He's still a developmental player. I think they're going to put him on the practice squad. They drafted him this year, and I don't think he's going to be a starter right away. You got guys like Charvarius Ward, Emmanuel Mosley, Diamond Lenore, who's looked phenomenal, Sam Womack, who we got to talk about, and, Ambry Thomas, I think he's struggled this offseason too. So you have a lot of guys, but not everybody's going to get that shot to play right away. I think Castro Fields goes on to the practice squad. They'll cut him, he'll clear waivers, and it's going to be fine. Haha says a lot of people don't understand how important Jimmy Ward is to this defense. His versatility is the reason he makes $10 million a year. Yeah, and again, Jimmy Ward, not only is he versatile, but he's a captain and his communication, and he's kind of like they call Fred Warner the quarterback of the defense, but I feel like Jimmy Ward also has that quarterbacking ability on this defense. Like, he knows where plays are going to be. He tells players where to line up. Like, he's just a guy that has instincts. He's been in the league for 9 years. He knows things. He knows how to read coverages. He knows how to read what the offense is going to do, how they're lined up. He's very important to this defense, and his communication is very key and vital. And his tackling is so critical. I don't think people realize how good of a tackler Jimmy Ward is. He cleans up a lot of mistakes. He fixes a lot of issues. He closes up lanes really quick. He prevents things from leaking out. When a play's about to get big, I've seen Jimmy Ward so many times save the play. That's why he's a safety. You save the day. You save the play. You save the day. I'm not going to say he doesn't miss sometimes, but he's made so many game-saving plays that don't go noticed. So Jimmy Ward is a glue guy. He's a very, very important guy. He's like the Draymond Green kind of guy to this defense. Draymond Green's the glue guy. He does the little things, the intangibles. That's what Jimmy Ward does. And I'm really stressed about losing him. I was so upset when he said John Lynch said he's going to miss the first 4 weeks. And I kind of was figuring this injury was bigger than it was because a couple weeks ago, Kyle Shanahan said, oh, he'll be ready for week 1. And then this weekend, I think it was Thursday on KMBR, not Thursday, it was Wednesday on KMBR, and Shanahan was talking on KMBR. He brushed over it. But if you listen to it, he goes, yeah, it's a pretty serious injury for Jimmy Ward. That's why we got Tashawn Gibson in there. We're going to give him a shot. When he said that, I was like, wait, did you just say it's a serious injury for Jimmy Ward? Because a couple of days ago, you said he's going to miss only, he might not even miss week 1. So when he said that, I was like, things aren't lining up. And you got John Lynch drop the absolute hammer on us. Fucking such a Lou. I couldn't believe it. Oh, man. Arvin says, you didn't know Jordan Mason would be this good when he was under. Of course, nobody did. And that's, again, we don't know. We see these guys and we look at them and we're like, oh, okay, maybe they could be something. But, and again, that's the Niners, though. Their talent department, their talent scouting, they probably see these things and we don't see it all the time. Did we think Jordan Mason was going to be this good? Obviously, no way. Nobody could predict that. But as you see him and he's developing, you're like, holy crap. You are looking like a star on this team. And he's done it before. Kyle Shanahan has done it many times. Elijah Mitchell, right? 6th-round pick. Matt Breida. He made Raheem Mostert relevant in his career. He takes these guys nobody even knows, and he makes them look pretty damn good. And my whole point is sometimes taking those guys early that have a bigger stock on them sometimes don't work out as like these undrafted guys for Shanahan for whatever reason. And I think they do a good job of finding hidden talent in the draft. And again, did we think that Jordan Mason was going to be this good? I don't think any of us did. But Kyle Shanahan knew what he had in him. He wouldn't have picked him out of the lineup if he didn't like him. But you're right; it's hard to predict off a draft day. And again, looking back, it's all hindsight. Is 2020. And we could sit here and be like, "Oh man." But that's what we do. We look back and we're like, we could have done this. We could have done this. Nobody can predict the future. And if you could, let me know. So we'll open up a business together, a sports betting business together, and make some money. Go get Gray's Almanac from Back to the Future. So let me go over some notes, see if I didn't miss anything yet. We talked about the O-line. Penalties were ugly. It was just a lack of execution. But that's why we have the preseason, right? It's a tune-up, like a car tune-up. You got to work on these things during the next few weeks in installments and practice. Got to get things a little crisp. Because if they go into a regular season game looking like this, we ain't winning a game. We ain't going to win a game. So they got to fix that. There were some positives. Let's get to some positives of this preseason. The biggest preseason of which is Sam Womack. I mean, this guy looked like a star this preseason. Let me pull up his stats. I think I posted it. Sam Womack, man. What a stud. What a stud Sam Womack has become, right? 5th-round pick. Coverage. So this is his PFF grades. He had a coverage grade of 91.1. 91.1, that's not bad. Coverage grade for PFF. Again, PFF grades, you take them with a grain of salt, but it is indicative of he had a pretty good, preseason. He was targeted 5 times. He allowed 0 catches. He had 2 interceptions. He had 1 pass breakup. That 1 pass breakup led to an interception to Tarvarius Moore. He had 1 penalty and a passer rating of 0.0. That's pretty damn good. And the thing about Womack, he showed he was versatile. He played outside last night. I was impressed with that. He was playing primarily the slot through this preseason. And last night, they played him on the outside. This guy's a dog, man. He was definitely a massive, massive draft steal. Again, going back to talent evaluation, our theme of the day seems to be late round gems and the 49ers. They draft well later in the draft. Sam Womack could be a very good player in this league. Obviously, it's 3 preseason games. You can't sit here and say he's going to be a star. But based off what we've seen, man, this guy looks so good, right? Look good. I can predict the future. I'll be blowing this up in a few minutes. The toilet. Let's get to some of these comments. Let's see. Let's go, Slasher Gamer. Let's go. The 49ers will be ready week 1. Yeah, I hope so. I think they will. I'm not worried about this preseason blunder. It's preseason. Like Trey Lance said, you look back, you move on, you turn the page, and you just move forward. You can't really dwell on it. It's a preseason game. You can't dwell on it. Just turn the page, man. And I like Trey Lance last night after the game. He took some accountability, said, he could have played better. This team needs to just move forward and move on, and it is what it is. So, that's the statement is it's preseason. We can't sit here and cry over it. And then even Kyle Shanahan says, it's a preseason game. This is what we got to do is learn from it. And we're here to evaluate talent. And, he did say the O-line was looking bad. He was scared, but hopefully they can improve upon it. And they know they have 2 weeks to study the film and get better from everything that happened last night. It wasn't perfect. It was an ugly game. We're not going to sit here and say it wasn't. But again, it's preseason. Not worried about it. Credit to Houston, man. They looked like they came to play. They had something to prove. A young team like that, this is a good win for them mentally. So there were some other nice things that we can talk about because I'll tell you what, the O-line, the D-line, as bad as the O-line looked, the D-line was the opposite. They look great. The D-line is phenomenal. They were rushing. They were getting after the quarterback. I mean, you had 3 sacks last night. This was like the backups. Ebicam had a sack. Well, he's probably not a backup. He's a starter. Omenahu had a sack against his former team. Jordan Willis. The defense was nice, man. The secondary was pushing at him. Or not the secondary. The D-line was pushing at him and helping out that secondary in the back. The run defense was a little mid, though. I didn't like the run defense. They were letting Houston gash them. Houston was running all over the Niners. So it was a big, obvious sign that Fred Warner wasn't in the defense because he wouldn't have let that shit flow, when you got your starting linebackers, Fred Warner, Azeez Al-Shahir, and Dre Greenlaw, it's going to be a whole different story. Teams won't be able to run as much as Houston was able to do last night because they were gashing us. They were running up every hole they could find. But D-line pass rush was nice. Again, 3 sacks, but the run defense, I didn't like what I saw out of it. But again, you got to realize no Fred Warner was in the middle. So, it wasn't the prettiest performance by the run defense. So, yeah, Ebicam looked good, man. I like Ebicam. Trevor Marks said Travarius Ward should be ready by week 1. Yes, sir. He should be ready. Nia says, glad this happened on a preseason game so we can work on it. I agree. This is better to have it now than later because if this happens in the midseason, it would be mad. It would be maddening. People would go crazy. We saw it last year. Remember when the Niners were sitting there with 3 wins and everybody's sitting there going, we blow up the season, fire Kyle, get rid of this guy, do this, and everybody was panicking. You remember that? If we would have lost a game like this in the regular season, it's over for the fan base would go wild. And we made it to the NFC Championship last year, so we didn't do too bad. I mean, you can't panic too early. It's a preseason game. Regular season has started. Now, if this is week 9 and we drop this game out on everybody, then we're pissed off. We're going crazy. We're going to blow it up. But it's not week 9. It hasn't even been week 1. We're 2 weeks away from week 1. So chill out. Let's get to Brock Purdy, shall we? Because I got to talk about him. I didn't mention him yet. Is Brock Purdy QB2? Is he QB2? What do you guys think? Brock Purdy QB2? He played well this preseason. I liked him. He was calm, cool, a little poised. He made some mistakes here and there, but he had a pretty solid game. He threw a little pick at the end. That was unfortunate, but he had a nice little game. Willie Snead dropped his pass. Should have had a touchdown. But Willie Snead wanted to put cocoa butter on his hands and drop the ball. So unfortunate for Snead. You're getting cut, buddy. Played yourself out of the roster. So Brock Purdy, though, looked good this preseason. I like what I saw of the kid. He's going to be cheaper. He's going to be cheaper than Nate Sudfeld, who's, $2 million guaranteed. Do you check your ego and say, okay, we're going to drop Nate Sudfeld, and maybe he comes back to the practice squad? You think anybody's going to rush to the door to sign Nate Sudfeld? I don't think so. If they cut Brock Purdy, I think somebody would actually try to sign him. So in a business sense, it actually might make more sense to keep Brock Purdy on your roster as QB2. He's going to get paid a lot less than Nate Sudfeld, and he's got 4 years. And you could still add Nate Sudfeld to the practice squad unless somebody claims him. And if someone claims him, then there you go. And it wasn't like Nate Sudfeld was bad this offseason and this preseason. Because I want to sit here and tell you that Nate Sudfeld wasn't ugly. He wasn't terrible. He was not terrible. He had some nice throws. He's a backup quarterback, and that's what you're not looking for a elite guy out there as your backup. He looked like a good, serviceable backup quarterback. He looked like a good backup quarterback. So it wasn't like, oh man, he's fucking terrible. He knows how to run Kyle Shanahan's system, and he's a veteran. You know, Kyle Shanahan needs the veteran for Trey out there. He does need a veteran. So I don't know. It definitely is something to keep an eye on. It'll be interesting to see what Kyle does. Again, I like Brock Purdy. I like what he did, you know, but it was against backups and third stringers, so you have to take things with a grain of salt. But I don't know. If they cut Brock Purdy, do you think he clears waivers? You guys let me know. I don't think he does. I think some team will pounce on him and say we can stash him and develop. Seattle would love to take him. Seattle would love to take him. Nate Sudfeld, you cut him, and does he clear waivers? That's what you got to ask yourself. So if you're Kyle Shanahan, you put yourself in Kyle Shanahan's shoes now. You have to sit there. It's cut day. Who do I cut? Who's clearing waivers so I can bring him back? Do I cut Nate Sudfeld? If I cut Nate Sudfeld, will he clear waivers? If I cut Brock Purdy, will he clear waivers? And that's what you have to ask yourself if you're Kyle Shanahan. You know, and that's the tough dilemma. That's the tough dilemma. I think that they, you know, I don't think they keep 3 quarterbacks on the roster. And I've been going back and forth with this when I've been like sitting here trying to think, will Kyle Shanahan keep 3 quarterbacks on the roster just so he doesn't lose a guy? I don't think so, because you have so many players that need to make this team, you know, depth-wise. D-line, we talked about D-line. There's 10 players that should make it. Cornerback, you got to have that depth, especially now with Jimmy Ward injured. You got to keep that depth back there, and you're a hamstring away from having to call Josh Norman back up. Like, good night, man. You're a hamstring away from calling Josh Norman. You need depth at quarterback. You need to make sure you have all the cornerbacks you can on this roster. And then, O-lineman. You got to make sure you pick the right O-lineman. That's like 9 guys. 9 guys on the O-line, probably 10 guys on the D-line. That's 19 plus another 9 secondary. That's 28 players. 28 players on 3 positions. You want a quarterback to take up a guy that might actually be able to produce on special teams or something? No disrespect to Brock Purdy or Nate Sudfeld, but they're just going to be sitting on the bench holding the clipboard where one of these other guys might be able to play special teams. So it's a tough choice. It's a tough choice, man. Sacktown Izzy says, I feel like keeping Trey Sermon will turn out to be a huge mistake. I don't think that your opinion is probably unpopular. I think a lot of people. I think what I'm saying is I think a lot of people agree with you. I don't think a lot of people want to keep Trey Sermon. It's tough. Again, you got to hold your ego at the door, and you got to check yourself and say, hey, look, is Trey Sermon good enough to make this team? You know, and you have to look at everybody else on this roster. 53 players, they got to be the best of the best. But then again, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch don't like to admit that they take a loss. They don't want to take a loss. They're going to give him a chance to see if he could turn into a dub. They do not like to take a loss, man. They really don't. It's tough. My man Jesse says Laken Tomlinson with the sad face emoji. I miss Laken. They should have found a way to keep him. Expensive though. He's getting paid a lot of money. A lot of money. And it's cheaper to go with the youngster. They drafted Banks. That was their plan. They planned ahead. Let's take Aaron Banks. We can let Laken Tomlinson go, and then now we got a young guy. We're going to find out if it was the right move. Right now, it doesn't seem too good, but we'll see. Again, it's preseason. You can't judge all of this on a few preseason games, but Aaron Banks has not been Laken Tomlinson, obviously. Those are big shoes to fill, just like we talked about Alex Mack. The thing, though, is Trent Williams, when the regular season comes, will be right next to Aaron Banks. I think that's going to make his job a little bit easier. It's going to be a little bit easier. So let's wait until he gets to play on the same line as Trent Williams. Because right now he hasn't been playing with Trent Williams. He's been playing with Jalen Moore, with Jordan Mills, with Dogwater. He's been playing with some bad players out there. So, starting O-line, Quan Boy, let's talk about this one. Let me tell you my starting O-line prediction We're going to do a roster prediction show this Sunday, but give you a little preview of it. So roster, O-line, we're going to talk about the O-line. You got Trent Williams at left tackle. Obviously, you know he's your starting left tackle. He's the best lineman in the NFL. He's probably one of the best players in the NFL. Top 20 drops this week. Trent Williams better be top 2, at least. He better be top 2. He's a phenomenal player. He's your left tackle. Right after that, left guard is Aaron Banks. Second year in the league. This is his first year actually playing. Last year was a redshirt year. There's a lot of pressure on him. We just talked about. They let Laken Tomlinson go. Big shoes to fill. Center, Jake Brendel. He's looked pretty good in the preseason. He's been the highest recorded player on the offensive line for the 49ers, and in terms of run blocking and pass protection. He's been nice. He's been really good with it. So I'm excited to see what Jake Brendel can do, but he has big shoes to fill because Alex Mack was a phenomenal player. And then on the right side, you got Spencer Burford, the rookie. He's shown flashes. He's had some really good moments. He's had some really rough moments, but he's a rookie. He's going to go through ups and downs, struggles, and some wins here and there. Good player, good young guy on the rise. I think that he's going to be your starting right guard. Again, he's played the whole preseason as a starter at right guard. Again, he's had some really good moments. He's had some really tough moments, but I think Spencer Burford can continue to develop. And then right tackle, if he's healthy, it's Mike McGlinchey. But he's not healthy right now. He's got a knee issue, rehabbing from the torn quad, and he has now knee irritation in that same knee. Don't hold your breath on Mike McGlinchey. Right now, if the season started and Mike McGlinchey is not healthy, your starting right tackle is Colton McKivitz. He was guard last year. They like him now. He played his way onto the roster as a tackle. He came in mad this offseason, I guess. I don't think he's that great. A lot of people think Colton McKivitz is serviceable. Mixed bag in my eyes. He's had some good moments, some really not good moments. I don't know. I'm not a Colton McKivitz guy. Maybe he could win me over. And then backups. The guy you got to keep an eye on, Jason Poe. He might be able to steal a roster spot at starter eventually. If one of these guys does not look good, Jason Poe might get an opportunity. Yeah, sad Niner fan says McKivitz was bad last night. Again, he's just like inconsistent. A lot of there's some people I listen to, some content creators. They really rave about Colton McKivitz. I'm like, what are you raving about? I don't see anything out of this guy. He's just, to me, he's mid. He's mid. I don't know. Sacktown says, going to say no on McKivitz. We need McGlinchey ASAP. We do. But McGlinchey's knee is not feeling it. He tore his quad. Like this, I don't think people realize he tore. You take a fucking muscle with the biggest, your quad muscle is literally one of the biggest muscles out there, and he tore that muscle. He tore the muscle. He tore the fucking muscle. He tore the quad. It's not easy to function. And he's trying to play football, and he's already having knee issues. It's not good. It's not. Michael Glitchy, prayers up to Mike, man. I hope he gets better. I hope he heals. But it's not a good injury for anybody, especially a football player. Especially a football player. My man, G. Singh says, O-line doesn't show up, Trey going to struggle. I mean, any quarterback's going to struggle without an offensive line. You need an offensive line. You just need an offensive line. You can't go out there playing with Swiss cheese in front of you. I don't care how good you are. You need an offensive line to protect you. I think Trey can mask some of this with his running abilities. But, man, it's going to be stressful on it. It's going to be it's stressful. He's going to be pulling his hair out. I would be. I was pulling my hair out looking at this O-line. Sacktown says, I hope we cash in on that $26 million from cutting Jimmy and we could sign another O-lineman. But at this point in the game, it's late. Who are we signing? Who's available? Who's going to be coming in? You got to get guys in early so they can, ramp up, go through the preseason, go through the off-season training camp, and kind of get under speed, learn the playbook. You can't just sign any geek off the street overnight and hope they pan out. Like, that's what they did last year at quarterback. Look what happened. You signed Drake Kirkpatrick and Josh Norman. All right, we were like, okay, we got some guys, we got some injuries, we signed some guys, cool, no problem. Fucking Josh Norman, this man was holding people like he was holding them ransom. He was called for penalty every play. Every play got penalized. And then you had Drake Kirkpatrick. That's all I got to say. Drake Kirkpatrick? Come on, man. Drake Kirkpatrick, I'll never forget the play he got truck stick by the running back. That's it. They cut him. After that, he never even played. So that's the thing. Like, yeah, okay. We can sit here and say, I'll got rid of Jimmy. And we have all this money to sign people, but we're going to sign bums. We're not going to sign great players. Like, whoever's left on the waiver wire right now, there's a reason why they're left on the waiver wire. There's a reason why these guys haven't been signed. Like a guy, J.C. Treader. Everybody wanted J.C. Treader. He retired yesterday. So that explains why we didn't even try to get him. Maybe we called him. Maybe we gave him a call. Yo, JC, what's up, baby boy? You want to play center for the 49ers? Well, actually, Kyle, I'm thinking about retirement. Kyle Shanahan, hang up the phone. Kyle, you there? I think the connection, what happened? Kyle Shanahan's like, fuck, this guy retired. I got to go with Jake Brendel. Let me try to make Dan Brunskill play center. Who he knew Dan Brunskill was not good at center because he tried it before, but he had no options. You try to play and make do with what you have. Dan Brunskill's not a center, but he tried. Bless his heart, he tried his best. I'll tell you what, in training camp, I saw this man. He could not snap the ball to Trey Lance. So you make do with what you have. Hopefully Jake Brendel can be good. But you can't just sign players right now because there's nobody out there. As far as Jimmy, I couldn't tell you what's going to happen. At this point, it's been so confusing. It's been so much speculation, slander. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? I feel, and this is crazy, if he stays on the roster, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not going to be surprised if they keep Jimmy around this year. I just, knowing this team with the way everything's going, the way that this team has operated over the last couple of days, they are so unpredictable. I wouldn't be surprised if Jimmy Garoppolo's still on the roster. Sacktown says, play Kinlaw at right guard. Might need to. Kinlaw could probably play two ways on the line, right? Play O-line, D-line. But he'd get hurt for sure. I mean, a guy is already at injury risk. We don't want him to get hurt. We need him to focus at D-line, but it would be pretty funny. Can you imagine Javon Kinlaw playing right guard? Jesus. Drew says, J.C. Treader said he had no interest from teams. That's why he retired. He thinks he's being blackballed by the league for being NFLPA president. Yeah, I heard about that. Possibly. Maybe teams don't want him on there because of his politics. There's always a reason. But, he always says he wanted to leave the league healthy. And he did say that he enjoyed his time in the career and he's happy to not have, had too many significant issues. But I like JC. It would have been nice to get him. It would have been really nice to get him, but we'll see. I think we just need a right tackle at this point to really – we need depth because I don't know how McGlinchey's going to do this season. I'm a little worried about there. And, again, we'll see. Safety also a concern for me. So those are kind of issues that I'm looking going into moving forward in the season. So where do we go from the preseason, right? We had the preseason, but where do we go now? Now we're the Trey Lance era. It's a new age. It's a new season. The training wheels are off. Don't worry about what just happened these last 3 weeks. We don't even think about that stuff. None of that stuff matters anymore. None of that stuff. That was exhibition. That was practice. That was just to get our feet wet. That was an appetizer. Now the main course comes, and we get to see what this team is really made of. We get to see Trent Williams. We get to see Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, Emmanuel Mosley, Charvarius Ward. Now we get to really see our team. Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, all there together and in the mix a little bit. Give them a little bit more action. We're going to not see the vanilla playbook. We're going to see the real deal Holyfield offense. That's what we get to see now. Now we're moving forward. We're not sitting here seeing all this nonsense anymore, this preseason mumbo-jumbo, this vanilla playbook. I'm not seeing this stuff because this was how you're evaluating your players, how can they execute this. Now you strip all that back, and now we get to see the real stuff, the nitty-gritty, baby. We get to see the real deal offense and the real deal defense. It's going to be fun. I'm excited. I'm not worried about preseason. I hope you guys aren't either. Week 1, Justin Fields versus Trey Lance. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a movie. Sebastian Zimmerman says Fields is going to make Shanahan pay. I don't think so. I think Shanahan's going to drop the defensive nukes on him. You're going to have Nick Bosa screaming down his spine. You're going to have Fred Warner out there, Charvarius Ward, Emmanuel Mosley. They're going to come for blood, man. This defense is not going to let Arik Armstead, Javon Kinlaw. This defense is coming for Justin Fields' neck. Justin Fields is going to feel the wrath. He's going to feel the wrath of the 49ers defense, and I'm excited for that. Who's playing safety on the other side of Huff? George Odom or Tarvarius Moore? It's one of those two guys. I think George Odom did just enough to seal the spot, but it's going to be close. I wouldn't be surprised if Tarvarius Moore edges him out, but I think George Odom might have sealed it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like his tackling, though. Tarvarius Moore's interception last night was pretty big for him. That was a pretty big moment for him. That way he stayed with the tip, off the tip drilling, and he stayed and got the interception. I mean, that was all Sam Womack, but the fact that Tarvarius Moore stayed with it, that was big for Tarvarius Moore. So if he does win the job, he could fake that interception, because that first week against Green Bay, he got burned, man. He got blown out of the water. So he did recover last week and this week. He's had two not bad games in a row. So, but it's going to be tough without Jimmy Ward. I just think that Tarvarius Moore's been inconsistent. He just doesn't have that athleticism. George Odom, he's a veteran type guy, but he's not a sure tackler, so he's not the greatest in coverage. So to me, it's like 60-40. I'm leaning towards Odom, but if Moore gets the spot, it's probably because of that interception. So if I had to make a prediction, though, your week 1 starters are going to be Hufanga and George Odom. That's it. Drew says, I saw a little bit too much missed. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. That he missed a lot of tackles, my man. He missed a lot of tackles, Drew. Like, that's one thing I noticed. I was like, every time there was a missed tackle, I was like, that's Odom. Boy was missing tackles left and right. So that could be his downfall, is the fact that he just was not good at open field tackles. He was very, very, very poor in that aspect. And that's something you got to do as a safety, right? You're that safety valve that's supposed to save the play if it breaks loose. You can't tackle someone, that play's going. I don't like that. I don't know. That's about it. Let's get to this. We did talk about this. Sickness. Does yesterday's game, were you even more about the O-line? I wouldn't say I'm more worried. I'm about the same, because I've been concerned about McGlinchey. We didn't see Trent Williams in there. Jake Brendel was not bad. I liked what I saw to Jake Brendel. He had a good game. So I was actually a little bit pleasantly pleased with Jake Brendel in there. I liked what I saw to him, but everybody else, they're young. They're going to make their mistakes. We didn't get to see Trent Williams, so I'm not too worried until I see Trent. If this O-line struggles and they have Trent Williams in there in the next game, then yeah, I'm going to start worrying a little bit more. I'm going to be a little bit more concerned. But you got Trent Williams, you got to account for. He didn't get to play yet. And I want Mike McGlinchey back on that right side. But again, what we've talked about today is I don't know what we should expect out of Mike McGlinchey. It's going to be tough. D. Booyah says, when is the final 53-man roster set? Tuesday, 1 p.m. We will be live. We will talk about it. I will break it down. We're going to talk about the 53-man roster on Tuesday. I'm going to do a prediction on Sunday. I cannot wait to get my prediction out. It's going to be fun. We're going to do a whole show. We're going to break down each position, and we're going to pick our 53 players. You can agree with me. You can disagree with me. You can cuss at me. You can tell me I'm stupid. Give me the feedback. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm right. Sunday, we will do a prediction morning show. It's going to be fun. Appreciate you, Drew. Appreciate you, man. I'm trying my best on YouTube. It's just not easy, but we're trying to grind. Learning every day. All right. That's it for today. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. It is a Friday. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Have a good weekend and have a good few weeks before the season starts. We have 2 long weeks until the season starts. I'm a little sad that there's no football for the next couple weeks. Well, I think there's some preseason games this weekend, right? We'll definitely get to watch those and, enjoy the weekend. Hope everybody does good and, has a good, enjoyable next 2 weeks. Appreciate you. Hit the like button. And again, thank you everybody for all the tremendous support. Have a blessed day and have a better weekend. Take care. Love you. Bang, bang. Not a gang.